It was the way she said it that stuck with me. Just helping with her taxes, she'd said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. As if it made perfect sense for an ex-boyfriend to come over on a Thursday night, bring a bottle of wine, stay past midnight, and leave his cologne behind on the guest towel. At the time, I nodded, smiled even. I was the trusting type. Or maybe just the kind of man who'd rather trust than confront what he already knew. Because let's be honest, I already knew. But now I had proof. This wasn't the kind of proof you stumble into. It wasn't dramatic or cinematic. No lipstick-stained collar. No secret messages. No camera in a potted plant. Just a slow build of little things, the kind that whisper rather than scream. It started with receipts. Actual, literal receipts. One was for a dinner at that steakhouse she used to say was too stuffy for her taste. Another was from a gas station halfway across town, time-stamped at 12:47 a.m. The same night, she told me she fell asleep watching Netflix. At first, I thought I was being paranoid. I'd gone through something similar years ago in a previous relationship, and I didn't want to become that guy, the one who reads betrayal into every silence. So I shelved it. I filed the receipts away, not in a folder, but in that uneasy drawer in my mind marked, probably nothing. Then came the call. I was home alone, folding laundry, when I saw her phone light up on the kitchen counter. I glanced at it, reflexively. No passcode. She never bothered. She said she had nothing to hide. And maybe she believed that. Maybe that was her version of innocence. The screen showed one missed call from Eli Taxes. I'd never heard the name, so I scrolled back through their messages. There weren't many, just a short thread. But in those 7 messages, I saw everything. I'll bring the wine, LOL. Wear that blue thing you used to wear for me. You still keep it in the second drawer? I didn't react. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't scream or punch a wall. I just stood there, staring at the screen like it was a mirror, and I was meeting my own stupidity for the first time. And then, quietly, I took a screenshot and forwarded it to my email. That was the first time I thought about leaving. Not out of rage. Out of self-respect. But we were still married. There was a home, bills, memories. God, the memories. She'd cried in my arms when her dad died. We'd spent Christmases building blanket forts and pretending we were still kids. There was still love somewhere in that mess, or at least the echo of it. So I asked her calmly, "Hey, what's going on with Eli?" She looked up from her laptop and blinked. "Who? Eli? From your texts?" "Oh, him. Just helping with my taxes. He's an accountant now. It's not a big deal." And she said it so smoothly, so convincingly, that if I hadn't seen the messages, I might have believed her. That was her talent. She could lie in lowercase letters, with a shrug, with soft eyes. But I didn't press. That night, I made her tea. We watched a movie. She fell asleep halfway through. I stayed up, watching the ceiling, wondering when exactly things had started to rot beneath the surface. Over the next week, I started noticing things. The wine glasses hidden at the back of the dishwasher. The 2 strands of unfamiliar cologne lingering in the hallway. Her smile, just a beat too forced. Her eyes, darting away just a second too soon. One night, I came home early from work. Her car was in the driveway. Music was playing inside, soft jazz, not her usual playlist. I opened the door quietly. She was in the kitchen, laughing. Not her fake social laugh. Her real laugh, the one she used to give me. The one that made me fall in love with her. And across from her, back turned to me, was a man I didn't recognize at first. Tall, tan, wearing her apron. I cleared my throat. They both froze. "Hey," I said. Her face flushed, just for a second. "You're home early." "Yeah," I said, setting down my keys. Didn't feel like working late. She introduced him. "Eli." I shook his hand. He had that firm, overconfident grip. The kind that tries to hide guilt under pressure. "You guys doing taxes?" I asked, smiling. "Yeah," she said quickly. "He just stopped by to help with a few forms." I nodded. "Smells like you made dinner." "Oh, just reheating some leftovers." "Nice," I said, keeping my eyes on her. After a few more forced pleasantries, Eli made his exit. He didn't look at me on the way out. She didn't meet my gaze until the door clicked shut behind him. That night, I didn't ask any questions. Didn't accuse. I just kissed her forehead and went to bed early. Let her sit with it. The next morning, I called in sick. Spent the whole day digging. And what I found wasn't explosive, it was just enough. Bank statements. Hotel check-ins under a familiar name. A credit card she forgot I could see. A sweet book twice in the past month. I printed them all out, laid them side by side. It was quiet work, almost meditative. By evening, I had a manila folder thick enough to silence doubt. I still hadn't decided what I was going to do with it. Confront her? Leave? Try counseling? I didn't know yet. I just knew I needed the truth to be real, not imagined. That's when I got the last piece. A photo. My friend Marcus works at the front desk of that hotel. I asked him, casually, if he'd ever seen my wife there. He didn't answer, just texted me a picture later that night. It was her and Eli, in the lobby, holding hands. I didn't need proof, but now I had both. I stared at the photo for longer than I should have, not because I was in denial, not even because I was hurt, but because there was something brutally poetic about it. The way she leaned into him, comfortable, familiar, the way his hand rested at the small of her back like it belonged there. It was casual, unguarded. The kind of body language you don't fake. Not when you think no one's watching. And that was the thing. She didn't think anyone was watching. I sat in the kitchen that night, the photo in one hand, a glass of bourbon in the other. I hadn't cried. I thought I would. I thought I'd break in some cinematic way, maybe throw a chair, maybe shout at the ceiling. But none of that happened. Instead, I felt still, like a lake just before a storm. She came home late, said something about traffic, set her purse down on the counter, kissed my cheek. I kissed hers back. I wonder if she felt it, that tiny shift in temperature, that silence that wasn't just quiet, but full. You okay? She asked, peeling off her jacket. Yeah, I said. Just tired. She didn't press. She never pressed when she was hiding something. That was part of the game. Keep things light. Keep moving. For the next few days, I didn't change anything. I still made coffee in the morning. Still texted her reminders to pick up oat milk. Still kissed her before bed. But I stopped speaking from my heart. I started listening instead. Really listening. Not to what she said, but to what she didn't. She stopped telling me about her day. Her phone, once left face up, now lived screen down. She started wearing makeup to run errands, and her perfume lingered hours after she said she'd been alone. Every detail was a thread, and I kept pulling. I booked a session with a therapist. Alone. Told her I needed help navigating a potential betrayal without losing myself. She was the first person I told everything to. Not a friend, not a sibling, not a coworker. A stranger with a quiet room and a notebook. She asked me a question I'll never forget. What would you do if the roles were reversed? And I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I couldn't imagine her forgiving me. If she had found that photo? If I had lied? We'd be in court by now. She would have burned everything. But me? I waited. Because part of me still didn't want it to be true. Or maybe I just didn't want to be the guy who walked away without fighting for what we built. Then came the night everything tilted. She was in the shower. I was doing laundry. Her phone buzzed on the dresser. Again, no passcode. Maybe she really believed she was untouchable. Maybe she thought I'd never look. This time, the message was from him. Miss you already. Thursday again? Same room. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Not because I didn't understand, but because I understood too well. Same room. Same story. Same lie. Over and over. I walked out of the bedroom, heart pounding. I could hear the water running. Could see the steam curling from under the bathroom door. And for a moment, I thought about confronting her right then. Just yanking the truth into the open, letting the steam and the silence clash in real time. But I didn't. Instead, I went back to the living room. Sat down, turned on the TV, and waited. She emerged 20 minutes later, wrapped in a towel, hair dripping. You good? She asked. Yeah, I said, smiling. Just thinking. About what? Us. She paused. In a good way, I hope. I didn't answer. Just patted the cushion next to me. She came and sat. And for a second, I watched her like she was a stranger. Like I was trying to figure out how a person I once knew so well could become someone I couldn't trust. She leaned her head on my shoulder. You've been quiet lately. Just tired, I said again. It was always the same excuse. And it worked every time. Because she wasn't really paying attention. She was busy managing her lie. The next morning, I cleared my calendar for the week. Took time off. Not for a vacation, no. For clarity. I moved money. Canceled joint subscriptions. Printed out copies of everything. Emails, texts, receipts. Not to use against her. Not yet. But just to know that if the day came, I wouldn't have to fumble for truth. It became a ritual. The gathering of evidence. Quiet. Methodical. like building a lifeboat plank by plank while pretending the ship wasn't sinking. I started sleeping in the guest room, told her I had insomnia. She nodded, didn't argue. I think she was relieved. No more late-night intimacy to fake. No more pretending to love a man she'd already left in her heart. Thursday came. She dressed nice. Nicer than usual. Said she had a long meeting across town. Spritzed her perfume. I watched from the hallway as she checked herself in the mirror, smiled faintly, then walked out the door with the same ease she once used to say, "I love you." I waited 10 minutes, then followed. I didn't want to catch them in the act. That wasn't the point. I wasn't looking for scandal. I was looking for closure. The hotel wasn't far. Boutique. Stylish. One of those places with ambient lighting and a doorman who doesn't ask questions. I parked across the street. Watched as she entered. No hesitation. No guilt. Eli showed up 5 minutes later. Same routine. Same familiarity. And I just sat there in my car, watching the building swallow them both. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even feel the sting I expected. Just a quiet sort of death. Not of love, but of illusion. Because that's what betrayal really is. The slow disintegration of what you thought was real. I drove home. Took a long shower. Made myself dinner. Then sat down at the table and opened the manila folder. I didn't need proof. But I had it. And now, it was time to decide what kind of man I wanted to be. I wish I could say I did something bold. Something that made for a good story at a bar. Maybe I barged into that hotel room and caught them red-handed. Maybe I tossed the manila folder on the kitchen table and told her to get out. Her bag's already packed. Maybe I yelled. Maybe I broke something. Maybe I broke down. But I didn't. Instead, I made breakfast. The next morning, she came home like nothing had happened. Hair freshly washed. Lip gloss barely smudged. Her excuse was a networking dinner that ran late. I didn't challenge her. I poured her coffee, the way I always had, with just a splash of almond milk and that cinnamon she liked. She smiled, said, "Thanks, babe," kissed my cheek, and scrolled through her phone. I watched her the way you watch a stranger at an airport, curious, detached, knowing their path was never meant to cross yours beyond this moment. She didn't know that under her toast plate sat a folded piece of paper. I had slipped it there before she came downstairs. And when she eventually cleared her dish, she found it. "What's this?" she asked. I didn't look up from my coffee. A receipt. She opened it. A photo printout. Her and Eli in the hotel lobby. The timestamp circled in red. There was a long silence. "What the hell is this supposed to mean?" she finally asked. I turned to face her, calm as ever. "It means I know." She blinked. "Know what?" "That he's not just helping with your taxes." Her face went pale. Not guilty, angry. She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. "I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to shame you. I'm just telling you that I know. And I've known. For a while." She swallowed hard. "Then why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted to see what you'd do." I stood then, walked over to the counter, and picked up the manila folder. Handed it to her. "In here," I said, "is everything. The receipts. The emails. The texts. I made copies. I'm not using them against you. This isn't about revenge." She took the folder with shaking hands, but didn't open it. "I want a divorce," I said gently. She stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. "You're serious?" "Yes." She sank into the chair. "So that's it? Just like that?" "No," I said. "Not just like that. This is months of silence. This is every night I waited for you to tell me the truth. This is every morning I made you coffee while knowing where you were the night before. This isn't sudden. This is overdue." Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. She was too proud for that. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. I nodded. "I believe that. But you did." She tried again. "Can't we fix this? Go to therapy? Talk it through?" I looked at her for a long moment. "You already had someone helping you through it. Remember?" That stung. She looked away. I walked upstairs. Started packing. One suitcase. Just essentials. I wasn't interested in the drama of dividing up every mug and sock. I'd leave that to the lawyers. Before I walked out, I paused at the front door. She was still sitting at the table, the folder unopened in her lap. "You said he was just helping with your taxes," I said. "Funny thing, though." She looked up. "He helped you out of your clothes, too." It wasn't cruel. It wasn't even sarcastic. It was just the truth. And in that truth, something finally broke between us. Something that had been held together by routine and silence, and the lie that maybe it wasn't as bad as it felt. I left without another word. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Clean. No courtroom drama. No spiteful division. Just papers, signatures, and silence. She reached out once. A long email. Said she missed me. Said she was sorry. Said she'd made a mistake. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, but because I was finally free of the weight of trying to hold something together that had long since unraveled. Sometimes I wonder if she ever looks at the manila folder. If she ever rereads the texts or stares at the photos and thinks, what was I doing? But I don't dwell on it, because that's not who I am anymore. I'm not the man who waits for truth to arrive, gift-wrapped in denial. I'm not the man who explains his worth to someone who stopped seeing it. I'm the man who walked away. Not because I wanted to, because I needed to. And in the quiet that followed, I found something I hadn't heard in a long time. My own voice.